This is Coach Lee, and you're listening to the Dore Report.
Welcome back into the Dore Report, and welcome into episode 355 on a lovely Tuesday evening, February 24th, 2026. I'm Will Byrum, joined as always by my co-host Trevor Hulan, aka Hack Squad Jim Duggan. Here at the Dore Report, we are presented by 615 Collectibles. If you're into sports cards or sports memorabilia, check out 615 Collectibles on eBay. Items include NFL team packs, graded cards, individual cards, and more. Excuse me. I ate a burrito bowl right before this episode, a meal prepped burrito bowl. Huge mistake. Ate it way too fast.
So I accidentally threw away Will's dinner.
Trevor
So
did.
now he had to eat a burrito bowl.
So this is the life, the glamorous life of TDR. So if there's some pauses, I'm keeping in some burps, and hopefully I won't burp into the mic. But check out 615 Collectibles on eBay. Great ad read. Next up is Rhoback. Rhoback Activewear. There's only one way to describe Rhoback. Best fit, best feel. For those who aren't familiar with Rhoback, they are completely changing the game with their incredibly comfortable activewear. Rhoback has released so many items within their newly licensed game day collection, and it's our favorite. With novel polo designs and clean hoodie and quarter zip designs for some of your favorite schools, it's definitely worth checking out. Nobody else in the market is pairing these levels of custom designs with this quality of activewear. Rhoback's everyday shorts or their Delta performance pants are the perfect pairing as well. They're both super comfortable, have an elastic waistband and great fabric that is made to have the appearance of a nice short look, but the comfort for a day on the move. Rhoback has also been proudly leading the NIL charge, having signed partnerships with multiple college football stars, both past and present, and are becoming the go-to brand for college athletes across the country. You can use code VAN20, that is VAN20, all capitals, no spaces, on Rhoback.com for a generous 20% off for all new customers. That's spelled Rhoback, RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all performance polos, shorts, and more with code VAN20. Last but not least, the NIL store. Visit nil.store/DoreReport15 and get some merch from your favorite Vanderbilt athletes. They have some incredible script jerseys.
Oh, they look so good.
Got to get one of those. Get your Tyler Tanner script jersey at nil.store/DoreReport15 and use code DoreReport15, all capital letters, no spaces, for 15% off your entire order. Trevor, let's dive into episode 355.
Let us.
We got some controversy. Get some big time controversy. I think we're going to call it TicketGate.
The trial of Will Byrum.
The trial of Will Byrum. That is going to be saved and addressed until after the TDR Cocktail Break when we get to premium message board questions, because there's probably a lot of people listening that have no idea what that means, but there are quite a few people listening that do know what that means. So that will be addressed. There's a lot of premium message board questions about it. If you're confused about it, don't worry about it. But if you're eagerly awaiting the address of that situation, the Dow's at 50. The Dow's at 50,000. the S&P is at 7,000. Just yeah, whatever. What are we talking about? Whatever. But we have a lot to get to here. A little bit of football news. We have the NFL scouting combine coming up. Women's basketball. Big win for the ladies over another top 20. Was it top 20?
I believe so.
Number 16, Kentucky. And then we have some disappointing results on the men's basketball side of things since we last recorded. I think the title of last episode was something like Vanderbilt basketball surging. Well, they're not surging anymore. I don't think that's the right word at all. And then we got some baseball to talk about. Something that is surging is the VandyBoys power, and they just wrapped up a victory over Evansville. What was the final score of that one? 15-3?
Yes.
15-3 victory, 3 home runs for the VandyBoys, 2 grand slams, 2 home runs from Braden Holcomb, who has been phenomenal, by the way. But Trevor, I'm holding in another burp. What's the vibe check right now? What do we got? TicketGate,
Saturday,
women's basketball, men's basketball, baseball. What do we got?
Saturday just was a punch in the gut, and that's putting it lightly. Saturday, the results of Saturday might have been one of the worst moments of my life. Because of that, the vibes are down horrendously bad. I'm going to go 3.5 out of 10. Saturday hurt.
So we dropped. What was it last week? Did you jump?
There's like 9.5.
Did you go to 9.5 or 8.5?
I think I went to 9.5.
Wow, that's a big
That's
drop.
a 6-point drop.
One of the larger drops we've seen in the history of the Trevor Hulan vibe
The
check.
Dow
in 1
might
week.
be up, but the Trevor Hulan vibe check is down.
Dow's at 50,000. Trevor Hulan vibe check at 3.5. Not good. Not a good sign for the Vanderbilt economy here. But Trevor, I'm thinking about TicketGate.
Do we just want to skip everything and go to premium message board questions?
We got to save it. There's a lot to get to here. But before we get into all that and much more, we are now a part of the On3 Publisher Network. Visit thedoreport.com today and subscribe to a monthly or annual premium membership and support TDR for access to premium content, as well as our premium message board behind closed doors. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Dore Report. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and Google Podcasts. And while you're at it, give our podcast 5 stars and review on iTunes or Spotify. It's now time for segment 1.
Lizard, 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 lizard.
Welcome back into episode 355 of the Dore Report. And welcome into segment 1. First up, a little bit of football news. Not a lot of football news. The NFL Scouting Combine is coming up, begins this Thursday, February 26th. I don't have it pulled up what position goes on Thursday. I know it's not tight ends or quarterbacks. And the site has 38,000 pop-ups, so that is great. Thursday is place kickers, defensive linemen, and linebackers. Vanderbilt tight end Eli Stowers will be working out at the Scouting Combine on Friday, February 27th. Tight ends and defensive backs. And then on Saturday, quarterback Diego Pavia will be working out in front of scouts. That is quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running backs. The drills begin on Friday for the tight ends and defensive backs at 2:30 p.m. at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, and the drills begin on Saturday at noon Central Standard Time. I believe that's all on NFL Network.
Yeah, it is.
All on NFL Network. So still at Lucas Oil Stadium, as it has been for a long time. I forgot to look it up, but it's still, maybe it's always been that way. Vanderbilt just hasn't had a ton of players involved in the draft combine for quite a few years. It just still feels early to me, but it's probably always been like that. And I'm just dumb. But we will continue to update where Stowers and Pavia kind of are in mock drafts. That will continue to heat up after the scouting combine. So Trevor, any thoughts on that? Or are you just ready to move on to basketball?
I think no matter what happens in the combine, I still think Eli Stowers should be the first tight end taken off the board.
I think it'll be Sadiq.
I think he's better than Sadiq.
I think he is too, but this is just my prediction.
Which is a shame I say it's a shame. Sadiq's a great tight end, actually.
Yeah, Stowers, it'll be interesting. Stowers has a lot of variability in my mind. I think he could fly up anywhere. A team could fall in love with him. I think he could be anywhere from as crazy high as a late first-round pick. I think he could fall anywhere to a late third, early fourth. I don't see that happening. I think he'll be an early third-round pick, if I had to guess. But a lot of it's going to depend on how it goes at the combine for him. I just think the blocking concerns are one thing, but at the same time, how concerned are NFL teams about blocking too much? I don't know. That's why Sadiq, I think, will be ahead of him. He just is ahead of him in blocking. Any other thoughts on excited to watch Pavia go, or just kind of, wait and see?
I am excited to watch my boy Diego Pavia. However, I will more than likely be totally locked into the Vanderbilt Kentucky game.
That unfortunately does coincide.
Yeah.
Let's move on to basketball.
We can just skip basketball this week, actually. We don't even have to talk about it.
Yeah, we're just going to skip basketball. Women's basketball, let's start on a positive note.
Okay.
Coming off of a 76-74 disappointing loss to unranked Georgia, Vanderbilt women's basketball bounced back in a big way. beat number 16, 81-79, behind 35 points from Mikayla Blakes and 20 points from Aubrey Galvin, who I don't believe started that game. A little bit of a change up in the starting lineup.
Aubrey Galvin liked my Squishmallow tweet today. Or Squashmallow. I'm not really sure what exactly
I think
they
it's
are.
Squishmallow.
She liked my Squishmallow tweet.
Cool giveaway. I do like that giveaway. You really going to get in line at 2 p.m. for the Squishmallow?
So I don't get out of school till 4 o'clock, and so it'll be about an hour drive for me to Nashville. So I will have to hightail it, but I will bring a change of clothes, and I will be outside Memorial at 5 p.m.
He's got to get a Squishmallow for the lady.
Yes, it is not for me. It is not for.
So
however,
he says.
However,
so he
if I have
says.
the opportunity to grab two, I will grab one for myself.
Understandable, respectable move. Blake's 35. Truly in the National Player of the Year conversation. Mikayla Blakes is, at this point, leading the nation in points per game with 26.6 points per game, ahead of Audie Crooks, who's averaging 25.3, a full 1.3 points ahead of the next leading scorer. I saw a stat somewhere that said Mikayla Blakes is averaging 29.9 points per game in SEC play.
Mm-hmm.
I did not fact check that, but if that's true, that's crazy.
Yeah. Also, how much are you keeping up with women's basketball nationwide? Like, what do you know about Audie Crooks?
I've seen highlights about it. I know she's gigantic.
You know that she's a fraud on the defensive end, right?
Doesn't play defense.
And her offensive
fraudulent.
game is totally fraudulent as well.
Just offensive
has
fouls,
like
posted
one
the paint.
inside post move. Nobody can defend her because of her size. It just she's not putting up numbers because she's good at the game of basketball.
Trevor's calling fraudulent.
Audie Crooks is a fraud.
He's not afraid to say it. Get the women's basketball community fired up and attacking TDR. I don't know if they'll disagree with that, to be honest.
No, Audie Crooks is a fraud.
Seems to be a pretty popular sentiment from what I've gathered. But there's an article up on thedoreport.com written by, was it Colin or Alex?
I think it was Alex.
They're just doing such an incredible job. It was Colin.
Colin
wrote an article
was
on why Mikayla Blake should win National Player of the Year. So subscribe to the Dore Report, read that article. Great article pitching the case for Mikayla Blakes to be National Player of the Year.
Were you watching the baseball game and did you see them show
Yes.
Colin, aka Peter Porker, absolutely housing a dog?
Housing a dog. He's got that dog in him.
Dude, dude, Peter Porker loves that pork.
Glizzy got up with the best of them, brother.
The King Porker is eating his own kind.
Colin's been doing an awesome job.
I love
by
that
the
guy.
way. Love Colin.
If
Incredible
you've never
job.
met Colin in real life, if you've never met Colin or Alex in real life, like two of just like the best freaking dudes in the world, man. I love Colin.
But coming up for women's basketball, Shea Ralph, Mikayla Blakes, Aubrey Galvin, Sasha Washington. Look at that ball knowledge.
Justin Pissott.
There we go. Just keep it going.
Mm.
TDR knows women's basketball. Vanderbilt will be playing at home.
Or Justine, I should say.
No, Justine.
I got it wrong. Damn. I said Justin.
We'll be playing at home against number 24 Alabama on the 26th. That is Thursday, so the day after. This is released at 6:30 p.m. on SEC Network Plus, and then Vanderbilt closes out the season on the road against the Lady Vols at 1 p.m. on the 1st of March. I already said it was going to be on ESPN. So 2 more games for Vanderbilt women's basketball, looking solidly if they can close things out the right way. And that means, kind of from what I'm looking at, as long as they just split these final 2 games, Vanderbilt women's basketball is looking at a 2 seed.
It seems like they're securely locked in at a 2 seed.
Now, if they drop both of the last games, which I do not expect to happen, I'm not 100% sure, but they look very locked into that 2 slot.
This might be a question I have to ask Alex and Peter is I wonder, because I don't know the answer. The past couple of years in men's basketball, SEC tournament play and just conference tournament play in general hasn't really been that heavily utilized whenever it comes to seeding, unless like you're on the fringe bubble. I wonder if that's different for women's basketball.
That is a good question. I don't know. That's an Alex and Colin question.
I'll have to ask one of them.
They will know
Or
the
both
answer
of
to
them.
that. All right, let's move on to a less positive subject here, and that is the men's side of things. Coming off 2 straight wins, like I mentioned in the intro, the title of the last episode was Vanderbilt basketball surging. Coming off 2 straight wins, you felt positive. There's a lot of positivity in the air, especially with the wind blowing that Duke Miles was going to be back soon. Well, he wasn't back yet. for the Missouri game. Vanderbilt went on the road to face Missouri, lost that game 81-80. Weird game, but in some ways very similar to the Oklahoma loss that we saw earlier this season. Vanderbilt played poorly, furious comeback late. I think they were down 21 points with 8.5 minutes left.
Something like that,
something like that. This might not be exactly perfect. I didn't take the best notes. I wrote a recap on it. I should know this better. The game ended with Tyler Nickel burying a top of the key three. And was it Mark Mitchell who threw the ball in?
Yeah.
And just inexplicably did not throw it far enough down the court, just threw it straight to Tyler Nickel at half court. Tyler Nickel
Tyler
launched-
Tanner.
Tyler Tanner. Too many Tylers. At least Tyler
Harris?
I almost said Tyler Washington. At least Tyler Harris is not performing well and not playing much. So there's really only two Tylers on the court that much. But Tyler Tanner picked off the ball at half court, heaved the ball, and it just rimmed out by inches, inches away from an incredible comeback by Vanderbilt. But the number one takeaway from this, when you just look at the box score, look at the team stats, as we mentioned, Missouri, not a great shooting team from the outside. Of course, death, taxes, teams that are not good shooting teams in the SEC shooting well against Vanderbilt. Missouri shot 50% from the three-point line, shot 10 of 20 as a team. Vanderbilt was also dominated at the free throw line. Vanderbilt actually won points in the paint and won the rebounding battle, but still lost the game. Won the rebounding battle 37-34 and actually won points in the paint 32-26. If you would have told me that before the game, those exact stats, I would have said Vanderbilt won this game. So it's a disappointing performance and a disappointing loss and almost an incredible comeback. But Vanderbilt got out of the gate slow, and especially in that second half, just got dominated out of the break.
Yeah, guys, full transparency. I think I'm going to stop the analytics and preview videos because I really am jinxing this team. In that video, I highlighted how piss poor of last week I highlighted how piss poor of a free throw shooting team Missouri is, and they freaking nailed everything. They had like a season high, and then I also jinxed us in the Tennessee game. I think I might be a problem. So the previews are up in the air, but yeah, I mean Mizzou just like. Bad. It's like you said, man. Bad shooting team shot well against Vanderbilt. Bad free throw shooting team had a season high in free throw percentage against Vanderbilt. That was a frustrating game. I mean, Tyler Tanner apparently was exhibiting flu symptoms. I believe Mark Byington came out after the game and said like he had the flu.
I think that was prior to the Tennessee game.
Yes. But there were reports that he was exhibiting flu-like symptoms in that game. So, like, he's obviously tired, got the flu, having to play 39 minutes a game. That's a game that you really want Duke Miles back as well.
Yeah, Vanderbilt actually did a good job against Mark Mitchell. Held him to 2 of 9 from the field, 10 points on the game. Just a tough loss, to be honest. Vanderbilt shot 40% from three as a team, 10 of 25, 78% from the free throw line. It's just Missouri shot better. Unfortunately, from a not good shooting team. Next up is going to be a tougher game to discuss. That is Vanderbilt taking on Tennessee inside of Memorial. Vanderbilt loses 69-65. Gross game offensively. Now, a good amount of that credit should go to Rick Barnes and Tennessee's defense. Tennessee's a really good defensive team, but still not a good offensive performance from Vanderbilt. Shooting the ball, just generally not a very good offensive performance. As a team, Vanderbilt did this. This is I want to go back slightly in time. There was a point early in that game, and I can't remember the timestamp because I was in the gym. Vanderbilt was shooting like 80% from three.
Yep,
and they were up like 1 point.
Yeah,
and Tennessee was shooting like 20%. And in that moment, I was thinking, this is not good. Because Vanderbilt it felt like with how Vanderbilt had shot early, they should be up by more than they were. Unfortunately, what happened, Vanderbilt got dominated in the paint. That's what we were afraid of going into this game. Tennessee was the number one offensive rebounding team in the country by offensive rebounding rate, according to KenPom. Vanderbilt got out-rebounded 39-30, but where they really got dominated was points in the paint. Tennessee outscored Vanderbilt points in the paint 40-22. And that was the difference in the game. Vanderbilt didn't do a horrible job defending Tennessee. It was rebounding, and then Vanderbilt could not consistently get their own second chance opportunities and get points in the paint. Vanderbilt could not get points in the paint. So frustrating game. Duke Miles was back. It was good to see Duke Miles back in action. He was definitely rusty.
Yeah.
He was not. I think he was healthy. He was just rusty.
Yeah. How many? He finished with 11.
I think he had 12 points.
12
points on 3 of 13 shooting. Chandler Bing had another good game.
Mhm.
Chandler Bing continues to perform better and better every single game, it feels like.
Dude, Chandler Bing's defense on a lottery pick and Nate Ament was sensational. Like Chandler Bing in that game defensively was a true spark plug for Vanderbilt.
Chandler Bing also knocked down a couple threes
He did.
as well in big moments.
Back-to-back threes.
Yep. Tyler Nickel couldn't score. Only had 3 points. It's tough when Tyler Nickel has a game where he's locked down / isn't hitting his shots. He's a big part of this Vanderbilt offense. He's been so damn consistent all year. He'll bounce back. I'm not worried about that long term. It just sucks to see that against Tennessee at home in Memorial. Any other thoughts on the game before we get to other aspects of this game?
It feels it's not nitpicky, but like the foul trouble that the Vanderbilt bigs get into is like this. The regular season is almost over. We only have 4 games left, and it's just like it's frustrating because it's a problem, but it's also frustrating because I don't know how you fix it this late in the season. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Like, it's clearly putting Vanderbilt at a severe disadvantage whenever, like, you only have one true big in Jalen Washington, and you kind of got to shuffle Devin McLaughlin over to the 5 whenever Washington's not out there. But, like, Devin McLaughlin is consistently in foul trouble. Jalen Washington is getting fouls called him. AK, I think, had 4 fouls that game. It's just like it's frustrating because, like, going up against these really physical teams, like in Tennessee is an incredibly physical team. Vanderbilt just doesn't know how to combat that. And that's frustrating just in the fact that I don't know how you fix that. It just is like, it's a problem. It's late in the season. It just seems like it's one of those things to where, like, you kind of got to grit your teeth and deal with it.
Yeah, I wrote something on the premium message board on the DoreReport.com, and it said something that I was going to get my thoughts out later now that I'd had a chance to think about it. I think now I'm just going to get my thoughts out on this team. We've talked about not moving the goalposts a lot, and that generally rings true, and I think it still rings true now. I just want to start out with that. But before the season started, now granted in this calculation, we even had Mason Nicholson in the rotation, and our thoughts on this was Vanderbilt would have Mason Nicholson. That has not materialized. Before the season started, we looked at this roster and said, this team looks solid. The number one issue is still going to be size. That's still going to be the problem. Well, that's still the problem now. It's just at the beginning of the year, Vanderbilt, that problem didn't rear its ugly head near as much. And Vanderbilt was still able to find ways to win despite that problem. Well, now it's rearing its ugly head. So it's not that Vanderbilt's developed this problem. This is just a roster construction issue. They just don't grow 6'11", 7-foot guys on trees. It's a rare commodity to have a solid big man, and Vanderbilt just only has one in Jalen Washington. He's gonna get in foul trouble. He's not the most physically intimidating guy, but at least they have one. But there's not, like you said about fixing it. I don't know if there's a fix. Like, you just need more depth, and they don't have more depth. And that's where you're at. And another part of this is, even with Duke Miles healthy, the offense stagnates at times, especially if you have a guy that can stay in front of Tyler Tanner even relatively consistently, or you have a team that's good in help. And that's what Tennessee is. And the offense stagnates because you only have one guy. And really, when Duke Miles is in the flow of things, you have 2 guys. But you really need more than that, who can consistently get you into the offense when it hits 14 seconds on the shot clock, your initial motion hasn't worked, nobody's popped open. You need somebody that can make something happen. Well, when Duke Miles is out, Vanderbilt has one guy. When Duke Miles is in, they have 2 guys. And I do think, despite not being the scorer that those guys are, that Frankie Collins is that guy to activate the offense. And he's still not back. So that's a problem with this team that we didn't expect going into the year. That's injury driven. But the number one issue with this team is paint. Is the paint, is the big men, is the size, is the ability to rebound, is the ability to deal with physicality. That's not something you can fix or coach or teach. They just don't have that, and that's the weakness of this team. And unfortunately, that's a lot of teams, even in an SEC that's not that up this year. I would say the SEC is definitely down this year. there's still a lot of physical teams with
Yeah.
good size, and Tennessee
Yeah.
fits that mold perfectly. And hell, even Missouri fits that mold in some ways, even though that's not where Vanderbilt struggled against Missouri.
Yeah.
I think
It's not that I'm like leaving these two games and in a bad spot. It's just
Right.
like, yeah, this is, it's back to reality in some ways.
Yeah, well, and it's to your point too of like guys that could get Vanderbilt in the flow of an offense. Like I would say going into the season, like we thought that like even Tyler Harris was
Yeah.
somebody that could get Vanderbilt into the flow of their offense, and like he's just a guy that just straight up sucks. So this,
I mean, he
this-
didn't even play in the
like,
Tennessee game.
And we're not like on here being like, man, Byington's missed. No, don't get me wrong. Like Mark Byington has missed on some guys, like no doubt about it. But like, I'm not gonna sit up here and be like, man, Mark Byington just da, 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 da. What he inherited a shit show and has taken Vanderbilt to the tournament back-to-back years after a shit show. No complaints from me. However, going into this offseason, the player personnel in terms of transfer portal guys is something that I'm going to be very, very interested to look at. I don't think that Mark Byington, then people are going to say, oh, are you saying Mark Byington's on a hot seat? Like, no, his seat is ice cold, but the misses have been noticeable, especially whenever it comes to guys in the paint. So that's something that I will be watching and that I think other Vanderbilt fans will be watching this offseason.
Yeah. And then coming up for Vanderbilt, 4 games left in the season. I do want to talk about one thing before we go to games coming up, the crowd. And we'll touch on this a little bit more in premium message board questions. So there was a very different view, and I'm curious, maybe it was just my angle. I was in section C, so I had the student section directly across from me. And I was directly to the right of the Tennessee section in F behind their bench. Is it F or is it L? F behind the visitor bench. I don't know what the mic setup was. I didn't go back and watch the TV broadcast, so I don't know. The way people described it was that Tennessee fans were much louder than Vanderbilt fans. I was there. That's not true at all.
No.
Okay. And this is not going to be me saying, whoa, the crowd was awesome. It's not. It was 70-30 Vanderbilt fans.
Yeah.
70-30 Vanderbilt. That's not good. That it should be better than that. But it was 70-30, and Vanderbilt fans were tremendously louder than Tennessee fans. Now, how the mics were set up by ESPN for the television broadcast, I can't tell you. Maybe they had them directly in front of the section that was dominated by Tennessee fans. There was one section in particular that was dominated by Tennessee fans, and it was section F behind the Tennessee bench on the visiting side. Other than that, it was mostly Vanderbilt fans.
Yeah. That was
weird. When I was seeing all those comments, I was like, that's not
I saw
what
it on
my
the board and
experience
I saw it
was.
on
Yeah.
Twitter, and they're like, man, this crowd sucks. And I was like,
Wasn't the
I was
best.
like, that was the most dominant Vanderbilt split we've seen in basketball in years, probably.
And it should be better, but it wasn't.
It should be better, but like, yeah, I saw those tweets and those posts, and I was like, no, it was like 70-30. And in the game, Vanderbilt fans were like dominating the whole time. I thought that was weird. I do know, so I reached out to somebody at Vanderbilt that like coordinates like with SEC Network and like the various like production crews that come in for games. And they said that the mics to pick up crowd noise are situated along the baseline that faces F.
Well, that could be what it is. I mean, it's as simple as that. Like I was there. I'm the first one to not be positive on what a crowd split was. It wasn't bad. It was not bad. It was not. Memorial Gym was not even close to taking over or anything like that at all.
Also, in terms of the game day experience, we need to give a shout out to Vanderbilt men's basketball ops and the game day experience. They listened. They heard our complaints. They addressed it. There was no toddler dunk contest. And instead, for the halftime show, we got to see 2 dudes have a free throw contest. and it was awesome.
Yes, Papa Smurf.
Papa Smurf
And some
who
random.
sucked.
He was terrible.
Oh, dude,
he had me
Papa-
hyped up, and his first free throw. I was like, oh god,
just,
not good.
just it was a line
A dude,
drive.
a dude in khakis casually beat him. Wasn't
It
even
was a
running.
line drive to the back of the rim every single
I
time.
will say the student showed up a little late.
Yeah.
They were loud once they got there, but the students showed up late, and it was a little disappointing at first, and then they got into it.
I saw so many tweets of like people, they're like, student section sucks. What the hell is going on? Then like at tip, it was like completely full.
Yeah.
I was like,
They just got there late.
I want to be like, guys, like, is this your first Vanderbilt men's basketball? Now, with that being said, the students should show early and be hyped during pregame. But I like saw those tweets, and I was like talking to a homie at the game, and I was like, dog, come on. Like, you've been at every home game this year. Like, you know the tip is about to happen, and it's going to be full. Like, don't send off these rage bait ass tweets.
But moving on to what Vanderbilt has coming up on the horizon, just to give an update, Vanderbilt went from number 19 in the AP poll to number 25 in the AP poll, still hanging on. Vanderbilt moved from number 12 in KenPom to number 13, and Vanderbilt moved from number 13 in the net to number 17 in the net. So they did fall. Honestly, I thought they would fall out of the AP top 25 after those two losses. And KenPom, they barely moved. The analytics still love this team. That's something you talked about before the episode, and only dropped 4 spots in the net. So not horrible, but is what it is. I thought they would drop a little more.
It's strange to see the dichotomy between AP voters and what these dudes who run these metric sites think. Because like whenever you look at KenPom, you look at Mia, you look at Torvik, even hell the net. All of these sites and these guys that run these sites are like, Vanderbilt is still a top 15 team on these sites. Top 25 in the AP. It's interesting. It makes me think that much like football, it's just box score watching.
It's a lot of box score
Now,
watching.
with that being said, I'm not shitting on AP vote. Like Vanderbilt should have dropped. Like don't get me like Vanderbilt should have dropped. I just think the 25 for AP voters and the guys who run these sites are like, no, this is a top 15 team still. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, the analytics read a different story. I can see that why they are where they are with the recent performances you've seen. Vanderbilt's definitely not trending in the right direction right now as a basketball team. So I'm not going to take too much of an issue with where they are in the AP. I was just surprised they're still ranked. The next thing is who they have coming up on the horizon, and that is going to be Georgia at home tomorrow/today when you're listening to this, the 25th of February at 6 p.m. on SEC Network. Vanderbilt is currently a 9.5-point favorite over Georgia,
which feels shocking to me.
That's a lot bigger than I expected of a line. I think you initially guessed a 6.5-point line on the
I was like I think this will be at most a 6.5.
Georgia currently sitting at 38th in KenPom, 33rd in the net. I want to be honest, I don't have a ton on Georgia besides Jeremiah Wilkinson is their guy. Is their main scorer. They're not a great shooting team, but we've said that for a lot of teams, and then they've come out and shot incredibly well. So, but just to read off the stats, we're not just lying to you. Georgia is 243rd in the country in 3-point percentage, according to KenPom. It's not a good shooting team. Now they're going to come out and shoot 50% against Vanderbilt, but Georgia likes to play pretty up-tempo, 10th in the country in average possession length on offense. So a team that likes to play up-tempo does not shoot the ball well from behind the arc, but shoots the ball well from inside the arc. That's Georgia. And we'll see, because no team plays against Vanderbilt how their analytics play, except for Tennessee. Tennessee honestly played kind of exactly how their analytics showed, but not how Missouri did. So
I tell you who I really like for this Georgia club. I like Blue Kane a lot. I think he's a really good ball player. I believe he has one more year of eligibility left after this, and if he hits the portal, I would do sinful things to have Blue Kane in a Vanderbilt jersey next year. It's like you said, they're a decent offense. Not a great shooting team. Here we go. Once again, what worries me, Vanderbilt is facing another top 30 offensive rebounding team. How does Vanderbilt combat that? Same answer that I've given the past, what feels like 10 pods, is I don't know. I don't know how they combat that. Interesting matchup, a must win for Vanderbilt. Last home game, senior night at Memorial, last home game of the season. It'll be if Vanderbilt gets the job done, it'll be a Q2 win. This is a must-win game for Vanderbilt, it feels like.
It does feel very much must win, especially with what Vanderbilt has left. This is the final home game for Vanderbilt in the 2025-2026 season. That's kind of crazy to say. Vanderbilt closes the year with 3 straight away games after they did the swap with Ole Miss.
It's all because that hellhole state of Mississippi had to get a snowstorm. I hate that place. You ever been to Mississippi?
I've drove through Mississippi.
It sucks. Did you want to die?
A little bit.
Yeah, it sucks. It's the worst city in the union or state in the union.
Vanderbilt then on Saturday goes on the road to play Kentucky at 1 p.m. on ESPN. Vanderbilt, to me, okay, this leads into another question. We won't dive into Kentucky. Most people are familiar with Kentucky. We've already seen Vanderbilt play Kentucky this year, so I don't know if we need to dive in. Do you have anything on Kentucky?
Not
Really?
at the moment.
Okay.
No, no.
So this is something that's interesting that I wanted to ask with what Vanderbilt has on the horizon. So we kind of dove into Georgia briefly. We'll see if Trevor decides to do a preview video. We'll see what he decides. We'll see. It's up in the air right now. We're not going to make him decide. Live recording. But Vanderbilt plays Georgia. Then they go on the road against Kentucky. Then go on the road against Ole Miss. And then go on the road against Tennessee. So 4 games left for everybody in the conference. The first part of this is the SEC tournament. So I know you don't care that much about the SEC tournament at all. Is that correct?
For baseball, I do not. Basketball, I care a little bit more. Because historically, I know last year not the case, but historically, like in terms of seeding, tournament play has mattered. Then again, it's a crapshoot. I don't know if the committee this year is going to value it. I would love for Vanderbilt to have a double bye. I fear they maybe piss that away with the Tennessee loss.
Yep. So that's what I wanted to dive into. So where these final 4 games lead to is number one, Vanderbilt probably is not going to have a double bye. We'll see how it breaks out. But
I think they'd have to win out.
To remind everybody how things work in the SEC tournament, the top 4 seeds get a double bye. The top 8 teams get 1 bye, or the 4 teams after that, obviously, and the other team gets a double bye. But 4 more teams get a single bye, and then the bottom 8 teams do not get a bye. That's how it works. So right now there's a bit of a log jam in the middle of the SEC standings. Right now at the top, there are 4 clear top teams. Florida sitting alone at the top at 12-2. Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee, all tied at 10-4. Those would right now be all the teams with the double byes. Then you have Texas A&M at 9-5, and then here's the log jam. You have 4 teams tied at 8-6 in conference play. You have Vanderbilt, Missouri, Texas, Kentucky. Those are 4 teams that are fighting for 3 spots to still have a bye.
And Texas and Missouri have the tiebreaker over Vanderbilt, and as of right now, Vanderbilt has a tiebreaker over Kentucky.
And Georgia right now is sitting at 7-7. So they're still very much in the mix. Auburn at 6-8. So there's a lot to be decided in the final 4 games. But these final 4 games are big for Vanderbilt. And really, they're only playing one team that's the bottom or towards the bottom of the conference, and that's Ole Miss.
Right.
Ole Miss right now sitting at 3-11 in conference, 11-16 overall. But that is a road game. So this Georgia game is huge. Final home game. That Kentucky game is going to be tough on the road. And then that's, of course, going to be a tough matchup against now number 22, Tennessee, on the road in Thompson Bowling. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you, and this is weird because why I'm maybe want to lead this into this is a must win sounds different because, correct me if I'm wrong, Vanderbilt's locked up an NCAA tournament berth. There's no way this team falls out of the NCAA tournament, even losing out the rest of the season.
No.
I'm glad you agree with me on this because I saw some discussion about that slightly.
Are you serious?
I don't think it was any serious discussion, but
If the guys, I don't know how that could even be a discussion. Like, this is very much like Vanderbilt has been a lock for the tournament for almost a month now. How this is even remotely a discussion is beyond me.
so
They're a fucking 5 seed right now.
yeah, they are a 5 seed, the top 5 seed on bracket matrix right now. If you had to predict, and we'll come back to this prediction later, what do you think Vanderbilt's going to finish in this final 4 game stretch? I know I have mine if you need a second to think about it.
I think, and I'm a little bit more bullish on this team even after the 2-game skid. I think they go 3-1. However, I think 2-2 is most likely. Anything less than 2-2, I'm hitting a fucking panic button.
Yeah, I don't want to be boring. I'm 2-2. I think they do beat Georgia. I'm feeling good about that one. I think they lose to Kentucky. And I think randomly, I think they split. I'm not sure which direction on Ole Miss, Tennessee. I know it feels obvious to say Ole Miss. But with this team, I don't know. And that being a rivalry game, I'm 2-2. How far do you think Vanderbilt could potentially fall? Let's say worst case scenario, they go 0-4. How far do you think they could fall?
They go 0-4. 7 seed.
I think they could be an 8.
Really?
Yeah, I think if they finished 8-10 in the SEC, they would be an 8.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll see. A lot to be decided. A big last 4 games in seeding. I think there's a lot of variation where Vanderbilt can land, not just in the SEC tournament, but also in the NCAA tournament. Now let's quickly move on to baseball before we go to the TDR cocktail break and go to premium message board questions and TicketGate. First up, Vanderbilt baseball, since we last recorded, things have moved in the right direction. Vanderbilt is back in the top 25. I can't remember which top 25. If it was D1 baseball or whatever it was. Vanderbilt sitting at number 25 in the country right now. Had a midweek mini series against Eastern Michigan on Tuesday, beat Eastern Michigan 13-2 in 7 innings. On Wednesday, beat them 16-2 in 7 innings. Then had a weekend series against Marist in Game 1. Vanderbilt won 16-5 in 8. Game 2, Vanderbilt won 12-1 in 7. And Game 3, Vanderbilt won 8-1. Braden Holcomb was named the SEC Player of the Week. He was 11 of 19 from 11 of 19 batting.
Insane.
Decent. Batting .579. Hit 3 home runs. This is stats from prior to the Evansville game, which just happened, where Braden Holcomb hit 2 more home runs. But through 8 games prior to this Evansville game, Braden Holcomb was batting .467 with 4 home runs and 15 RBIs. That has increased. I don't know how many RBIs, but now he's batting better than that and has 6 home runs. So Braden Holcomb, Hulk smash.
Dude, he's been awesome.
Vanderbilt through 8 games, because I didn't have Evansville to add into this. Vanderbilt has hit 22 home runs as a team. 8 games into last season, they had hit 8 home runs. So that's a decent uptick in power, you could say. A lot of positives. I know it's lower competition, and then, of course, Vanderbilt went on to win 15-3 against Evansville in 7 innings. A lot to be positive about as far as the power numbers are concerned.
Yeah. I mean, just overall, what we've seen so far in this season, man, it's because everybody knows me. This, like, my big gripe the past couple of seasons with Vanderbilt, particularly last season, was the lack of power. Like, that's how you, not just in college baseball, but in Major League Baseball, that's how you win games, is by offensive output and power. That's the name of the game now. And it seems like Vanderbilt has gotten on board. I love what I see at the plate from this VandyBoys team. And Barzy having a really good start to the season. Of course, you just went over Braden Holcomb. Like, I even like what I see from guys like Gooden, Brody, just up and down this lineup. Vanderbilt has power capabilities. As a team, now, once again, I'm not a batting average guy. I don't think batting average is necessarily a good stat nowadays, but for the listeners, Vanderbilt is, as a team, batting like 340 or something like that. That's really, they're an above average slugging team. They're an above average OPS team. Like, they are absolutely hitting the hell out of the ball. Like, if we just look at Braden Holcomb in terms of his offensive output, WOBA in particular, he's a top 15 player in America. Going into this midweek series, Colin Barzy, with WRC Plus, was a top 15 player. And also, like, let's make note, the guys ahead of them have been playing schools like the St. Joseph of the Blind. Like, they didn't have to go to Globe Life and play like elite competition. So if we take those guys out, like, these are top 10, top 5 offensive output players in America. I'm absolutely in love with Jason Esposito so far. I'm absolutely in love with the play approach that the VandyBoys have taken. I'm absolutely in love with the power output that I'm seeing.
Yeah, it's a very different Well, not even that different for us. I would just say different on the message board and on Twitter about the VandyBoys. Because I think last episode, and even now, I'm kind of like, pump the brakes. Like, just generally, early season non-conference college baseball. I'm generally like, pump the brakes. We can have some general takeaways, like what you're saying about Jason Esposito, what we like about the approach at the plate. Those are good takeaways. As far as actually determining if this team has addressed the power problem,
way
fully,
too early.
Exactly.
Way too early.
I like what I've seen so far. Do I have answers? No. No one does. But what we have seen so far is very positive. So that's the takeaways early from baseball. We will continue to cover baseball as the non-com play progresses.
There's reason for optimism.
Exactly.
And I'm somebody that I'm more negative and more hypercritical whenever it comes to Vanderbilt baseball than I am with any other Vanderbilt sport. And with that being said, I'm very, very glowing and I'm very positive about the outlook of this team. Now, like you said, a conference play, whenever you go up against pitchers that got a little bit more stuff, got a little bit more junk, that ball is going to be moving a little bit differently whenever they're at the plate. Those power numbers are obviously going to dip. That's just part of it whenever the competition ramps up. But is this power and is this offensive output that we're seeing sustainable? That's what I want to see is, can this be sustained even if there is a slight dip?
That question won't be answered this weekend, but maybe a slight little hint at what the answer will actually be this season. Vanderbilt travels to Las Vegas to play in the Live Like Lou Las Vegas College Classic. On Friday, Vanderbilt takes on UC Irvine at 4 p.m. On Saturday at 6 p.m., Vanderbilt takes on Arizona. And on Sunday at 1 p.m., Vanderbilt takes on Oregon. All of those games will be broadcast on D1Baseball.com. So I've heard some complaints about their streaming service, but won't dig into that because I'm not aware.
As somebody who has streamed many games on D1Baseball.com and their service, and somebody who is a premium subscriber and pays like $150 a year for D1 Baseball, it's bad.
It's bad. The games are also available. UC Irvine and Arizona are available on 94.9 The Fan. Oregon is available on Sunday on 102.5 The Game. All of the games audio are available through the Vanderbilt app. If you want more baseball news, subscribe to thedoreport.com. Read the articles that Alex and Colin are putting out. They are fantastic, and George as well. Check out the game threads. If you're a Vanderbilt baseball fan, you've got to check out the game threads on Behind Closed Doors. Every single Vanderbilt baseball game, just guys talking baseball. It's a fantastic time. But right now, everybody out there, grab yourself a delicious hot or cold beverage, and we will be right back after the TDR Cocktail Break. Welcome back from the TDR Cocktail Break, and welcome back into episode 355. It is time to dive into premium message board questions as well as the controversy that has been dubbed TicketGate. I am at the core of that controversy. I already gave my official statement. The Dow was at 50,000. The S&P was at 7,000. What are we talking about? On the other side, to give some context, I won't go too deep into it because there's a lot of premium message board questions about this, but the general gist of this, one of my best friends, I was a groomsman at his wedding, lived with him in college. He lives in Knoxville, Tennessee fan. I was up in Knoxville actually celebrating his birthday on Thursday. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to go to the game or not. It worked out that I was, so I started asking around about tickets. He mentioned to me, he was like, I'm going to be honest. We're males. It was his 30th birthday. I didn't get him anything for his birthday besides my presents, obviously. My presents was his present. So I was like, you know what would be cool? Because he had mentioned, I've never actually been to Memorial. Huge basketball fan, grew up playing basketball. I was like, we should go to that game. And it turned out he was going to be visiting a vintage market with his brother anyway in Nashville. And was going to be staying on my couch. So it was like perfect timing. Just come up a little slightly earlier. He was like, I'm going to the game anyway. I was like, well, even more perfect. We'll sit together at the game. Just perfect. So find tickets. I tell him the only requirement is he cannot wear orange. So pulls up in a black, Trevor saw it, black sweatshirt. Did have Vols on it, but very subdued black sweatshirt. Trevor's met him a couple times. Trevor hates Vol fans. He bites them at the door.
This guy immediately came into Martin's, and I go, "Fuck you!"
One of the
to the sweetest guy ever. I just
super
fuck
quiet.
you, dude. Fuck Tennessee.
He was just taken aback slightly. It was like, okay, man. But brought him to the game. We had a good time. Whatever. Did not know it was going to turn into this giant controversy. I will say I was in like 30 different exchanges. That's an exaggeration. It was probably more like 12 different exchanges. Trevor saw some of the reach outs that pause. Some of the
that's why we're not live, folks.
Some of the messages that I sent out to different group chats asking for tickets. And I was talking with a bunch of people. I mentioned to most of them, and I added the caveat, I am bringing a Tennessee fan, one of my best friends. This turned into a whole thing. I at first genuinely thought people were like facetiously getting upset. Like I'd be giving myself a little bit of shit too. If the shoe was on the other foot, give myself a little shit. But I didn't realize people were genuinely like angry about this. And we'll just go into premium message board questions and I'll elaborate further. I will add the caveat at the beginning as I've been going back and forth with people on the board about this. I do have an issue. This is where it's split in the middle as I burp into the mic. It's split in the middle. And I'm curious everybody else's thoughts. Trevor has a different nuanced take than I do. Other people are just whatever about it. I would never sell or transfer or facilitate my tickets to a fan of an opposing team if I was not going. I would give them away to Vanderbilt fans or sell at a very discounted rate. If I have friends that are fans, a friend or friends that are fans of an opposing team, I will go with them and sit with them at the game because the alternative is simply stupid. The alternative to my scenario was, hey, man, you're staying on my couch. We can go grab a beer at Martin's before the game. I got us tickets. We're going to go grab a beer at Martin's before the game. Our tickets are 5 sections apart, and we're both sitting alone at the game, but we got tickets. That was the alternative. Would that have stopped the controversy from happening if we had sat in separate sections and both sat alone, Trevor, do you think?
I think it would have.
Okay, so that was my mortal mistake, sitting with my buddy during the game. Should have sent him off into a different section. But let's dive in. That's the background to this, and we'll see what people have to say, because I'm sure there'll be very reasonable responses, and nobody will be angry at all. So, for the record, I've fought my whole life against Tennessee fans. I can't believe these horrific accusations are being thrown my way. I'd rather be mentioned in the files at this point.
Oh, God.
From B. Fromang, William, I think the listeners and subscribers deserve a full explanation of TicketGate. No saying, I guess I already gave that. No saying the Dow is over 50,000, the S&P almost 7,000, and the NASDAQ smashing records. That's what we should be talking about. Will not suffice. Trevor.
Oh, God. Why is it?
So I gave the full
involved?
explanation already. I know there's different thoughts on this. That's my philosophy on things. I'm curious, I know you are very different. There are other people that are even more gung-ho with allowing opposing fan bases in. My caveat is, if it's a friend who is a fan of the opposing team, I will go to the game with them. That's always my caveat. And I will also add in, I did go to this guy's tailgate before the Vandy Tennessee football game this year. So, and I was decked out in black and gold. Just throwing that one out there. But Trevor, I know you have a different philosophy.
Yeah, so I'll add the context of all of my best friends in the world. So my homie Jake and my homie Andy. Jake is going to be the best man at my wedding. Right behind him will be Andy. They are diehard Vol fans, so much so that Jake has season tickets and drives all the way from Gallatin to Knoxville every Saturday, even though he's got a small child at home. If Tommy could not, for some reason, make a Tennessee game, and they were like, hey, can I go with you? I would tell them to fuck off. I am, and this is what me and Will have had the discussion, there's a spectrum. And I even disagree even more so with Miller, who is pro having ball fans at the tailgates. There's this one guy that Miller is friends with who, even if Tennessee is on a bye week, will show up to the tailgate in an orange Jalen Hyatt jersey. I hate this guy. I do not like him. I do not like talking to him. For some reason, Miller gave him my phone number, and he has called me, and I refuse to talk to him on the phone. I am anti-Vols and everything. If my friends wanted me to even, in fact, my friends have even asked me to help them find, they were going to buy with their own money, just a good rate on tickets for a Vandy game. And I've said, no, I in good conscience, I cannot help you.
See, I will also add, though, the end part of that. I also do that same thing. My cutout in all of this, and there's going to be a lot more on this. My cutout in all of this is mine is just, if I'm going to a game, I'm not going to split off like a middle school boy girl party and not go to the game with my friend and talk a little shit back and forth with my friend at the game. I'm not going to go sit in separate seats from them. We're not in the Confederacy and the Union. We're still talking shit, but we can intermingle. That doesn't mean I'm slapping on a Vols hat and cheering. Like it's
this is where I'm the extremist, is that like
it's in the middle of what you're talking about there.
I am the extremist to where if I was in that situation, we had separate seats and separate sections, I would be like, you don't sit with me. I am a Vandy extremist.
I love that, and I respect that. Other extenuating circumstances. I was not going to.
It's a spectrum.
Yeah, I was not gonna lie. I'd do it again. Blake B. Fromang.
You're gonna get so much on Twitter.
Can't wait. Trevor, how many pitchers do we have that are touching triple digits?
None.
I don't think so.
I don't. It's very rare for college pitchers, even like top of the line starters, to hit, or even closers, I should say, to hit triple. The dudes that are hitting triple are signing out of high school.
Next up from World's Strongest Vandy Fan, I wonder what this is going to be about. My faith is shattered. My yoke is weak. Not really. My yoke carry is pretty damn high. My heart is burdened. William Byrum. What in the ever-loving hell possessed you to bring one of them to the game? That is treason of the highest order. The guile of this man. How dare you embarrass Steve like that? What would Phoebe think of this? What would poor Jalen, who already bears the burden of graduating from that hellhole, think of this? How can TDR go forward leading the televised revolution when our leader betrays our trust like this? Your options are 1. Public castration in lot 2 and consumption of the removed organs by Phoebe. That feels slightly extreme, but
I also don't know why my cat is involved in everything. Every inhumane act, they're like,
let's throw Phoebe
into it. Yeah.
Or number 2, the removal of all your limbs by the strongest Vandy fans / former players you can find. May I recommend myself, Bruno Reagan, Justin Geisinger, and Adam Smotherman. Choose wisely.
I think castration might be better.
Yeah, I don't want all my limbs removed. So I don't like either of those options. But if I'm going to have to choose between those two, probably castration. All right. Now that Will's impropriety, duplicity, subterfuge, and infidelity have been addressed, Trevor, because I'm not talking to Will this week. What is the best 9 possible for the VandyBoys going forward? We've seen a fair amount of trading places and moving parts through 9 games. Is there anyone in the lineup you feel should be getting reps slashed at this point? Are we still at the point where everything is up in the air? I'll let Trevor think for a second. I'm fully in the we are still up in the air point of this year with baseball. That's if you go back and listen, that's where I've said through this first part of the season consistently.
I would like to see Gooden in the lineup consistently. I think that's my caveat right now. I would like to see Gooden in the lineup. But I'm with you. Whenever you're a non-con, I'm very much okay with like playing around with stuff. Because things are going to happen in conference play to where like dudes are going to get into slumps. Like it's just part of the game of baseball. And guys are going to have to be moved up and down. And like unfortunately, some guys are going to have to get moved out of the lineup. So I think experimentation is very much okay. And if I was Tim Corbin, I would experiment right now.
Yeah, you would think experimentation. Yeah.
I'm in a loving, committed relationship to where I do not experiment.
Damn liberal. Next up from 615 Dore.
Don't put it on me. This is not the trial of hack
No,
squad.
this is not even about me. This is just what I'm debating reading. Someone tell Frankie Collins to clean his locker. People are still not happy with Frankie Collins. We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Kodak Black and Gold. For Trevor only, will you be looking to leave TDR after TicketGate?
I will not. I will not. I will not. Just my brother sinned. My boy. My boy.
Alex Kurbagov. I am so angry that Will took one of his best friends to a game involving their favorite teams on their birthday. When I heard that this happened, I got so upset that my girlfriend's boyfriend asked me if I needed him to get my comfort stuffy from my parents' basement where I live. I simply cannot believe that a self-proclaimed, quote, super fan would ever do this. No devoted college athletics fan would ever choose being a decent person/friend over something that could have infinitesimally small impact on the game. All Will has ever done is pour hundreds, if not thousands of hours into a podcast/coverage site for minimal pay while having a full-time job and busy life beyond Vanderbilt athletics. Sure doesn't sound like a super fan to me. You know what? It's hard to disagree with that.
did the little shoulder shrug after you get fouled or get a dunk or and one.
It's nice to have Alex helping me out here so I don't have to sound like a complete dickhole. But
I love Alex, man. What a great guy.
Next up, thank you, Alex, from Roe Miller High Life. Are there any wild ideas that y'all have for ways to improve the Vandy fan experience? What's the that's a separate question. Right now I would just say keep winning. I mean, you're still feeling it's similar. Like there's all this stuff you can do, and I want to get into the small, minute stuff. And sometimes we do. Sometimes we do get into the small stuff, but it's kind of like football. You saw the attendance boom that you had this year. Yes, it coincided with the new stadium, but we all know why that environment was so much better. It wasn't because they implemented Shout. Shout was successful because Vanderbilt was winning. And so you had a long stretch of not being that good at basketball, and it was pretty miserable during the Jerry Stackhouse era. It's just going to take a little time. It's just going to take a little time. Not near as much time as football to dig yourself out of this hole, but it's getting better. It's not horrendous. As far as like the actual game day, like as being a fan in the stadium, I think Vanderbilt in Memorial is fine right now. I don't have any horrible complaints about what's going on. We talked about the little dribblers, and we talked about the Tiff's treats giveaways, and all that's relatively small. Like the Memorial experience does not have near as many bad things as the football game day experience did either.
Can I go on a little bit of a rant
Please
here?
do.
I think, and it's not a rant that I haven't done before. Whenever we talk about crowd environment and fan involvement, I think the number one issue it's not the halftime experience. It's not the little dribblers. It's not Tiff's treats. It's not the hype guy that runs around with a microphone. The biggest issue is the blue hairs and the olds. That is the biggest issue. The biggest issue are the rich bell meters and the rich people in L that even whenever Vanderbilt just went on a 10-0 run, got a kill shot, will not get up out of their seats, will not cheer, will not unfold their arms. That is the biggest issue with Vanderbilt basketball. It is not the student section. It's not the lights. It's not the hype video. It's the old people. that won't get up out of their seats because it hurts their knees too bad. I'm sorry. I know you give hundreds of thousands of dollars to Vanderbilt athletics, and that's the reason you get those seats. But you are the biggest issue facing Vanderbilt basketball and this whole idea of fan experience. They're the problem. And that I'm going to try and watch my words here. We know how that problem gets fixed. And Vanderbilt can't do anything about it. If you get what I'm putting down.
Yeah, being in Section C for the Vanderbilt Tennessee game, I don't often sit in the fancy schmancy sections. I've had the honor to sit there twice this year. Normally, never. It's almost like the experience I had until we've created the junkyard in Section F.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you stand up and cheer, and it's almost like people turn around and look at you like you've interrupted a Sunday sermon. It's like you should be the exception if you're seated.
Yeah.
The rule should be standing and cheering when something happens. It doesn't affect me, but that affects a lot of people around. If you don't have other people cheering, it subdues you. And I think that's the problem. It's you just have too widespread of this kind of lackadaisical fan experience. And that's, I don't know how you fix that. I don't think there's like a fix for the big money donor seats. It's just got to get better.
Yeah, and it's not like you can move those people out of premium seating because the reason they're there is they give hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars to basketball. And for that, I thank you.
Next question from Mo Miller. Hi, Life. What's the ceiling for Vandy women's basketball in the tournament? They seem too inconsistent for me to go super far, even though they are undeniably a great team. I think Elite Eight.
I think Elite Eight as well. I think half the Final Four is on lockdown, and I just don't know how you beat UConn and South Carolina.
I think if everything broke right and they got the right matchup, like it was Texas, that they potentially could make a Final Four. But there's another tier of team, and we've talked about that before. So that has nothing to do with how great Mikayla Blakes is or how great of a job Shea Ralph has done. But there is a cap on this team, and I hope I'm wrong. Let's hope for a miracle run, Trev.
Does he have another question? Because
Yes.
Ask that question. Then I want to shout out Ro Miller High Life.
He goes on to say, me and my buddies play a no rules 3v3 basketball tournament. Basically works like hockey basketball. What players on the men's team would you draft first in a draft for this format? I might go Glock or J-Dub first, but I could see AK being a dog too. I was going to say AK.
I was going to say AK.
Day. AK all day.
Yeah. I want to shout out Ro Miller High Life. If you're not on the board, Ro Miller High Life, and I don't want to out him, posted on the board a couple of weeks ago saying that he had sources that Duke Miles was out for the season. This caused quite the stir on the board. I said this was not true. Duke Miles is obviously back. I want to shout out Ro Miller High Life for taking his lashes, taking them on the chin, putting his hand up and saying, hey, that was on me, and still being active on the board in the message in the Q&A. That's an admirable man. He put his hand up and say, hey, guys, I got it wrong. That's on me. That takes a big man. I want to shout him out.
Next up from yet another Dore lawyer. Likely to cause more frustration than anything because you can't do anything about it. But did the game against them feel especially one-sided in how it was reffed? I feel like a pinky on Ahmad, I think he means Ahmed, was called a foul, and their players consistently tackled ours with no call. I'd likely make a shot if I got 6 steps to do so. Not wanting to excuse our poor performance because it was not up to our standards, but it felt like 5 on 8 for most of the game. I think that's generally how it feels when one team is more physical across the board than the other.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you're wrong, but I think a lot of that is caused by play style, and I think Tennessee was the more physical team throughout basically the entire game.
Yeah.
And so they got more calls because of that.
I agree with that.
Next up from Peter Porker 714. Shout out Peter Porker. Says, Will, bringing a UT junior fan to a Vandy game is an unforgivable offense. Moves like this are exactly why I entered the Riders transfer portal a month ago. This is news to me and a horrible loss.
We have not approved his papers yet, apparently.
No, you're not getting approved. I ultimately decided to return to TDR. Okay.
He rescinded his
primarily
papers.
because of the culture you've built here and the money, of course.
Yeah.
One more slip up like this, and we will be calling for your job. TDR will not die with you if I have anything to say about it. I've been here for like 3 months and I've already surpassed you in approval ratings. Have some shame, William. That's a good one.
Peter Porker's approval ratings
Goat.
are at all-time
They're
high.
all-time high. It's dangerous.
Him and Alex they do have the highest approval ratings.
Yeah, they might be inciting a riot soon. We'll have to do something about that. Subdue them.
Hey, leave it to the Russian to start a coup.
Here we go. Anchor down 4224. Will, my girlfriend is a Tennessee fan, and I hear crap all the time about it. I love bringing her to games, so when we win, I can hold it over her head, but when we lose, it's silent treatment for the rest of the day. Did you and your friend have any conversations the rest of the day? And if so, tell me how you find the strength to have done so. It worked out. He had another get-together to go to, and I had a get-together to go to. So I got a second to just wallow in my emotions. And then met up later after I had, I don't know, we'll say 1 to 2 drinks, just multiply that a little bit. And I was much better. I was in much better spirits. He's also not, Trevor's met him, not the guy to throw up a Fortnite dance in your face if there's ever a guy to describe like that. So he was more appreciative of getting to go to Memorial. But yes, if we had been together, I'm sure I would have said in silence. But don't worry, I gave him and all of his Tennessee friends enough hell for a decade after that Vanderbilt, Tennessee football game this year.
Oh, God.
I went to the local Smoky, and let me tell you, in my bright gold jacket, I stuck out in that place. And I was vocal, you could say. Next up, from Mr. Magoogs. Been enjoying the women's basketball team immensely. One thing that has gotten local Nashville radio attention has been whether Vanderbilt athletics was trending in a better direction than University of Tennessee athletics. They talked about recent football success, men's basketball, and baseball, but a big factor in the discussion was Shea Ralph and the women's basketball team. There is zero question that Vanderbilt women's basketball is in a better place than where Kim Caldwell and the Lady Vols are. I would love to get your thoughts on what it means as a Vanderbilt fan to start dominating in a sport that the UT fan base has claimed is theirs for forever. Feels like poetic justice after the last few years of baseball. Yes.
Yeah.
In some ways, yes.
Kim Caldwell's going to get fired this year. Like if you keep up with Tennessee athletics at all, them not retaining Tony Vitello because they were cutting funding to baseball and giving it to women's basketball already put a sour taste in Vol fans' mouth for women's basketball. Then the fact that Kim Caldwell freaking stinks just exacerbated the issue. And the fact that Tennessee baseball right now, I know it's early, does not look good.
Lost against State series.
It's just magnified the issue. It is. It feels great to like be better in almost every sport.
Yeah, it does. Very much so. World's Strongest Vandy fan responded to that question or that comment and said, as someone who has ties to White County, I acknowledge my biases here. I laugh at Danny White running Kelly Harper out of town for the mess that Kim Caldwell has coached. Danny White might be the worst AD in the country when it comes to managing an athletic department. The whole thing is in turmoil. Dude brought Heupel with him from UCF, didn't do an actual coaching search, and now they're figuring out what it looks like after teams have 2+ years of film on that offense. Ran Kelly Harper out and handed an NCAA tournament team to Caldwell, who is now at war with her players. They just gave up. And funneled money to women's basketball instead of baseball. He said disaster of women's basketball, leading to Vitello bouncing. And Erlander is off to such a great start, losing a series to Kent State. LOL. Everything is a shit show at school.
Yeah. And then you got the whole entertainment district on top of that. And it's just, this is not me being a hater of Tennessee athletics. Their athletic department truly is like not in shambles, but like the turmoil, like the foundation is shaking. People like openly hate Danny White. Not to mention the fucking talent fee that like season ticket holders have to pay.
B. Fromang, back to my trial, said, what would the punishment be in Russia to Alex Kurbakov? Alex Kurbakov responded, castration by Siberian tiger bite. So not great either.
Yeah.
But I guess that saves Phoebe.
Yeah. I'd
So
rather
I'll
a Siberian tiger do it than
I'll
my
take
girl.
that choice. D. Whitworth 9-6. A few things. Men's basketball. Trevor definitely jinxed us for the Missouri loss. And I guess we can go ahead and just blame him for the Tennessee loss too, because I don't want to discuss that game. Women's basketball, the women looked a little confused and didn't have an answer for Kentucky most of the game. But Aubrey Galvin should have solidified her spot for National Freshman of the Year and Blakes for National Player of the Year after her 35-point night. Baseball, this very well may be the best offensive team we have seen in quite some time. Tommy Gooden is undoubtedly who should be starting at first base. Jensen is just not good. Also, why isn't Tim gone after sidearm/submarine pitchers like Faulkner before? He has some nasty pitches that really throw off a hitter's rhythm. A lot more just comments there, but interesting.
In terms of why he hasn't gone after sidearmers or submariners is, first off, there's just not a lot of them. Second off, typically, historically, submariners and sidearmers have absolutely awful control. Even if you look at Major League Baseball, like whenever they come in for a relief spot, like they get hammered. The reason submariners and sidearmers just aren't that common in general from like a technique standpoint is you can't see my arm, but their arm is all the way out here. The batter gets such a better and longer look at the baseball as opposed to just a conventional windup that the hitters have a better chance of getting their eye on the ball and they see the ball better, and that results to more home runs. That's why if I was a D1 baseball player and I saw a sidearmer come out there, I'd be licking my chops, because before the baseball's even out of his hand, I've seen the baseball for half a second and I'm able to tee it up.
Yeah, I think the main part of this, that's obviously true. I think that part contributes to why there's not that many of them.
Yes.
And then there's not that many of them.
Yeah.
So that would be the true answer to that.
Yeah.
Kind of, this is completely off base and a tough line to tie here, but there are no left-handed quarterbacks starting in the NFL anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Penix is left, right? But he's not starting.
No, he's not
anymore.
starting.
Yeah.
Which is
Because Tua was left and
Yeah.
Penix was left, and they're not starting anymore, I don't believe. So,
Which is crazy, because I don't know if you ever saw this, but I was watching a documentary on Mike Vick, and like they talked about how he was a lefty, and they interviewed not just his wide receivers and pass catchers, but like other pass catchers in the NFL. And they said it's so much easier to get a read on the ball from a lefty.
So,
which is interesting.
I don't know about Reed, and this is obviously not playing the NFL or even college. Catching a left-handed spiral is dramatically different than a right-handed spiral as well.
Mm-hmm.
This is not even comparable.
Just
but
the rotation
in flag
of the ball.
football, in college and intramurals, had a left-handed quarterback, and it took a second to get used to catching a left-handed pass. It just it's everything's the opposite. It spins the opposite way. The point is the opposite way. It's just different. So I don't know if it's just the offense is having to be redesigned. That's random. That's way off topic. Next up from Soggy_Biscuit. What a name. I just now started getting into basketball these past 2 years. So I apologize if this is a dumb question. There are no dumb questions. Just dumb people. I couldn't help but see all of the antics going on with Providence's team. With that being said, how different would this team be if we decided to pay Jason Edwards and not pursue Tyler Harris? First off, those are not comparable amounts between those two guys, based on what I've heard. They're very different fits. This team, I'm actually torn on Jason Edwards. I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
I think what he's asking is particularly like from an attitude perspective, if I'm hearing the question correctly. And I'll come at it from that angle, because he mentioned the antics with Providence and like how I'm shocked they have not rioted and broken into Kim English's office. A little inside baseball. Last year's basketball team, in terms of the personalities, was weird to borderline problematic in terms of team chemistry. I know a lot of fans pointed out last year, like if there was an open shot and somebody took it to the basket themselves or somebody shot the ball and Jason Edwards was open, even if it was a make, like he'd be pouting down the floor. Him and Hogard openly got into arguments on the floor. As you can imagine, that went into practice. Jalen Carey had some issues. I'm okay with shipping off Edwards for Harris simply for the team chemistry.
Well, I would also add on maybe because they play different positions.
Yeah.
If Jason Edwards is still on this roster, Tyler Tanner is not able to have the season he's having this year.
That's a great point.
I think this would be a case of, this is not saying Jason Edwards isn't a really good player and he wouldn't contribute at times. I think this almost might be, what is the opposite? I think this might be subtraction by addition.
Yeah.
Like the opposite of addition by subtraction is if you added Jason Edwards onto this team, he's a volume scorer. He takes a lot of shots. This Vanderbilt team has improved this year because they're a lot more efficient on offense. So I don't know where Jason Edwards would fit with this roster, especially when Duke Miles is healthy. When Duke Miles was out, hell yeah, Jason Edwards would have been huge to have back. When Duke Miles is healthy, I'd rather have Duke Miles and Tyler Tanner as a duo out there than Jason Edwards. So that's actually a very interesting question. But as far as attitude, this team has its own share of issues internally that we're just speculating on purely. But yeah, Jason Edwards should just be adding gasoline to like an ember. I don't even think of fire is the right word. Like a small ember. Jason Edwards would be gasoline. J-Rob 1742. Which is worse, TicketGate or Hot Dog Gate? You're back in the fire, brother.
I wish I never agreed to that.
Hot dogs is a bad choice.
I wish I never agreed to that.
JDL Cab says, number one, what's your assessment of the baseball team so far? We've already kind of given that. Positive on the power, but still a little too early to really tell.
Mm-hmm.
Also, number two, troll question. You don't have to read it. I'm going to read it. Says, do you think George Kimball is the highest impact outfielder this season? He could hit for the most power on this team. George Kimball could. Next up, unabridged. What is the biggest issue with the basketball team right now? They need to get healthy and rested. I mean, the biggest issue is what we talked about, or what, in my opinion,
size.
What I talked about earlier, which is size.
Yeah.
And that's not getting healthy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, that was the biggest issue on the roster before the season. It's the biggest issue now.
Mm-hmm.
Second biggest issue is consistent primary ball handler, getting them into their offense. And that's not getting better, or it is getting slightly better with Duke Miles getting back. I don't know about Frankie Collins. And then I would say the third issue with this team, we've already talked about size and rebounding. That's kind of all encompassed. I would say this team does have scoring droughts, especially when Tyler Nichols not hitting his shots consistently. It's like Tyler Tanner is not able to get to the basket. Tyler Nichols not knocking down shots from outside. When Duke Miles is still getting back in his rhythm, what does this team do? That's a big question. So, but size is number one.
Yeah.
Pessimistic Dore. Here comes the pessimism jokes. With this current slide, I have this nagging feeling men's basketball is going to one and done again in the NCAA tournament. What are your thoughts on their trajectory? Also, what are your thoughts on Vandy hosting G Leaguer Bryce Griggs for next year? Credit to the GOAT Joey Dwyer for the news. We love Joey Dwyer.
We do love Joey.
Podcast. I don't know about the Bryce Griggs news. I can't comment intelligently on that. On the trajectory for the season, I'm not ready to press the panic button yet.
Neither am I.
This team is getting healthy. Duke Miles was incredibly rusty.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that's fully expected after missing, what did he miss, 9 games?
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to be rusty. So it's a slide. I think also maybe I never shifted my expectations in the way that some other fans did. I had a brief moment, but never fully shifted, and I still had realistic expectations for this team. So not ready to press the panic button. If they lose 2 more in a row,
I'm freaking out.
Then we'll see. And then Ole Miss becomes like, you have to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you lose this game, we're in full slide panic button mode. And we almost already might be there if they lose 2 straight more.
Yeah. If they lose to Georgia tomorrow night, I'm going to be – my finger's going to be touching the button.
G-Barks 2-4. What are your go-to Martin's pregame meals before basketball games? I
don't want to
fucking
share
love
this.
that place and would buy stock in it if I could. So I get it's mixed. There is a brisket burger that I like, but I've been getting the little kid sampler, or the little brother sampler, little kid sampler, the little brother sampler, because I'm a big brisket man. And that comes with brisket and pulled pork. I will say the last Martin's brisket and pulled pork I got, I don't know if it was left over from the previous day, was not the best Martin's brisket and pulled pork I've ever had. Thank you for joining, Phoebe. If you're watching on video, right in my face.
She's trying to console you.
Yeah. What's your go-to, Trevor?
So I want to add the caveat. My Martin's order whenever I go to Martin's for pleasure is different than my Martin's pregame order for Vandy basketball. Don't judge me. My Martin's pregame Vandy basketball order is the chicken tender plate.
Little chicken tendies.
Don't judge me. I get chicken tenders, fries, and mac and cheese. If I am going for pleasure, I get the pulled pork sampler.
Okay. So I'm a big brisket man.
See, I don't like brisket.
But this is where brisket's hit or miss. Pulled pork, really good pulled pork is really good.
Yeah.
But not so good pulled pork is still okay.
Yeah.
Solid. Really good brisket is the best. Phoebe, you are just
She is
under my
on
chin.
you.
But even okay brisket is just not good.
Yeah.
It's just really bad. So it's real hit or miss. That's why I like the little brother sampler, because I've got the pulled pork to fall back on. Even though I'm not a little brother, whatever. Last premium message board question, little kid sampler.
Do we need to bleep? Do we need to bleep that?
Brutal.
Especially after you said you'd rather be in the files.
From Commodore Cam, what is the worst thing y'all have done / said at a Vanderbilt game? Mine would be last year in Memorial versus Arkansas towards the end of the game. This granny wearing Arkansas stuff was walking up and down the steps of 2L talking trash to me and the other Vandy fans. So I yelled, "Shut the fuck up and go back to your shithole state of Arkansas." I'm a big believer of FAFO, but I probably should have left Granny out of it. In my defense, that game was a 9 p.m. tip during the week, and I hate Calipari. I've been bad.
I can't. I will say I've never said a slur.
Neither have I.
Why'd you laugh?
I laughed just because it's very funny. That's where immediately, like, all right, step one, never said a slur.
I do, because I've never said a slur, but I've said some things that in the heat of the moment felt good, but afterwards I was like, man, that wasn't cool. You know what I mean? The worst thing, I'll tell you the funniest thing I've done, and I've told this story before, is me and Joe West were at Como for the Vanderbilt, Missouri football game, year before last. And these frat dudes we were just minding our own business, just watching the game. These 4 frat guys come up behind us, start literally touching us, poking us, shoving us, stuff like that, start saying fuck Vandy and all that. Well, we stand up. And if you've never met Big Joe West, his name is Big Joe because he's a large human. He's 6'5", 250 pounds, big old boy. We stand up, we do our thing, and we bullied these frat guys into giving us their zins. Mm-hmm. And then they left, and we still had their zins. That's the funniest thing I've done.
Yeah, if you've been around me at Vanderbilt games, I'm not very well behaved generally, so I'm not going to go into it. Just the most recent one at the Vanderbilt Tennessee football game, I just have a punchable face. Generally, I've figured that out after years of being in bars, and I don't feel like I do that much, but it's just constant. So I have a punchable face. During the Vanderbilt Tennessee football game, was cheering after a scored Vanderbilt touchdown, and this older gentleman, I think I mentioned this in the podcast, was an older guy, mid to late 60s, fat, classic East Tennessee guy, just what you would imagine. I was cheering. He said something like, "Shut the fuck up! We don't do that here. I'll be," and I just kind of went just whatever, being a dick, I kind of am. And he was like, "I'll beat your ass." I was like, You are not going to beat my ass. I will guarantee that's not going to happen. This is like a guy that, if you would imagine, I'm not a good fighter in the world of not great. This is a guy like you would push. He would lose his balance. This was not an in shape individual. Then this guy that was probably in his mid-30s, beefy East Tennessee boy, stood up and was like, you ain't going to beat his ass. I'm going to beat your ass. I was like, you might beat my ass. He's not going to beat my ass. And that got all the Tennessee fans around me giggling. So that's how I won that altercation. But that's just the most recent one.
I just keep thinking about the Vautech.
Yeah.
Just hearing the lady next to me go, oh, there's a fight. I turn around, just Will taking on 30 dudes.
Pause.
Pause.
But yeah, I get angry at games. Football specifically. Also getting Mississippi Valley State Delta's coach yelling at me, Lindsey Hunter, yelling at me during a game. It's one of my favorite stories as well. I didn't even use a curse word during that one. I just got him so angry. His assistant coaches had to hold him back. That's it for those stories. That is it for premium message board questions. Anything else you want to add before?
That wasn't too bad.
Yeah, not too bad.
Not too
I didn't get
bad.
grilled too bad. Anything else you want to add on episode 355?
I'm about to make a chicken parm.
All right. Chicken parm on deck for Hack Squad. For myself, Will Byrum, and my co-host Trevor Hulan, and our producer Phoebe, this has been episode 355 of the Dore Report, powered by 615 Collectibles.